It's Rima Brecki on your Friday morning, 11 minutes after 8, playing all the latest and the greatest in Christian music. Of course, the queen herself, there's CC Winans, Holy Forever. Good to have your company, Mick Wright, with you through until 9, of course, being a Friday morning. It is that time we are crossing live to our great friend, Kelli Kieselbach. We are naturally speaking this morning on the topic of arthritis. Kelli, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you, Mick. How are you?
I'm great. Lovely to finally see your face after all this time as well. Just a few issues there last week. But hey, look, we are back.
Yes.
We are in there. We are doing it live. And again, look, a great segment this morning we've got in front of us, particularly arthritis. It is such a common thing in society these days. Probably has been for a long time. But I think there's, obviously a lot more awareness around it, which is great. So, kicking off this morning, firstly, I guess the thing is, it is a fairly broad term. So what is arthritis?
So arthritis is an overarching term for diseases that affect the joints. So they're characterized by inflammation and degeneration of the joint, but there's actually over 100 different types of arthritis.
Wow.
Some are very common, you would have heard of, and some are, much less common. But yeah, it is quite a, so the term arthritis can be quite broad, really.
Yeah, and over 100 types. I had no idea there was that many around. Obviously you say there are the common ones that we often hear about, but again, a whole lot more. Now, I guess what are some of the, going off that one, what are some of the more common types that we actually do hear about?
Well, osteoarthritis would be probably one that most people have heard about. And this type of arthritis is really to do with wear and tear on the joint. It tends to be more associated with, an age-related arthritis, or it might also be, it might also occur because of past injuries as well. And so with osteoarthritis, it tends to be limited to the joint. So the inflammation, it's a localized issue within the joint, as opposed to autoimmune arthritis. So autoimmune arthritis, or arthritises, plural, are types of arthritis where the person's immune system starts attacking the joint. And it might be one particular joint, it could be the whole body. And these types of arthritis tend to have other systemic symptoms associated with them. And probably the most common type, definitely the most common would be rheumatoid arthritis.
Yep.
But there's also psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis that are quite common as well.
Yeah, it's quite amazing when you start to really dig into it, how, just how big of a topic, arthritis really is. And of course, look, what are some of the signs and symptoms? Again, you've probably mentioned a couple there as well, but probably really good to do a bit of a recap on some of those.
Yeah, so definitely pain, stiffness, swelling of the joint, trouble with mobility often, and sometimes deformity of the joint as well, although it's not always visible from the outside. More so if you were to have a scan, you could see the deformity. But for those more systemic arthritises that impact the whole body, there can also be other symptoms like fatigue, changes to skin, maybe impacts on other organs as well. So it's really that inflammation impacts the whole body, not just the joint.
Yeah. Now, do we actually know what causes arthritis?
Well, there's a few different things that contribute. So there's wear and tear, overuse, and damage to the joint. So that is more relating to osteoarthritis. With your autoimmune and inflammatory arthritises, this is more a dysfunction of the immune system. And there's a number of reasons, which we might go into later, about why that might happen. There can also be metabolic issues. So, for example, gout is technically comes under the arthritis banner, and that's where the body struggles to process and eliminate certain compounds, and they build up in the joint and cause problems. There also can be infections in the joint as well, which can contribute to arthritis as well. So in terms of, I guess, risk factors, so, who's most at risk? genetics do play a part. So you can be genetically predisposed, but having the genetic predisposition doesn't automatically mean that you are going to have a form of arthritis. Those lifestyle factors become really important. So things like carrying excess weight, smoking, poor diet or highly processed diet. And we also see a lot of microbiome disturbances, especially in those autoimmune inflammatory arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, like psoriatic arthritis. Mm-hmm. So we come back to that gut health thing again of, where we've seen, because the gut is the hub of the immune system.
Sure.
That we've seen microbial, and when I say microbial, I'm talking about the normal bacteria that we find in our gut. So with those imbalances, we see them consistently in people with sort of autoimmune arthritis. And this, I guess, in the scientific community would be referred to as the gut joint axis, where, inflammation and immune dysfunction in the gut can directly influence the health of the joints and vice versa as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, so I guess the old adage of arthritis was, pretty strictly for older people. Is just not true at all, really, isn't it? I mean, obviously it does get a lot more common with age, but we do know that there are a whole stack of other issues going on with arthritis, particularly the autoimmune one. That is a really interesting one as well. So probably
and
something...
It can occur in children, and seeing more and more young adults as well with these autoimmune arthritises. And there is a form of arthritis called juvenile arthritis, which does occur in young children, and that can be very distressing.
Yes, it actually can be. Somebody who did have that in my early childhood, probably around, I think, 4th or 5th class, I think we first discovered that one, childhood arthritis. So,
right.
It was incredibly frightening. I remember just getting these severe pains through my legs one day, and then all of a sudden I was in the school playground playing with kids, and next thing my legs gave out on me. So I collapsed on the ground. Teachers had to rush me off to the hospital, which was thankfully was pretty close to the school that I was going at the time. But it took me probably about 10 days to actually walk again. And they were running a whole battery of tests. And I think when my poor old mum went to find out what was going on, they said, "Well, your boy's got arthritis." And she was like, "Excuse me?" He's like in 5th class. What's happening here? But they said, "No, that's exactly what it was."
Isn't it?
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, with that kind of thing going on at a young age, you are a lot more prone to, autoimmune diseases as you get older, which unfortunately is definitely the case. So we are chatting with our great friend, Kelli Kieselbach, of course, this morning, Naturally Speaking with Kelli K, our nutritionist and naturopath. We are chatting about arthritis. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with Kelli right after this. Stay with us. It's Rima Brecky on your Friday morning, coming up to 24 minutes after 8. That's Ann Wilson's Sunday Sermon. We are Naturally Speaking this morning with our great friend Kelli Kieselbach, and we are looking at the topic of arthritis this morning. And while we were off air, Kelli, we were just having a bit of a chat around some stats and things like that. Some fairly alarming ones coming out as well from the world of arthritis, isn't there?
Yes, definitely, particularly looking at that autoimmune side of things. So it's autoimmunity in general. So there are other autoimmune conditions that are outside of arthritis, like thyroid disease and that kind of thing. But autoimmunity in general, that is predicted to increase by 30% over the next 25 years. The next 15 years.
Wow.
So that is an exponential growth and an exponential amount of people that are going to be suffering. So, we really need to find a way to slow that down.
Yeah. And look, is there any sort of idea, any type of consensus coming out of the medical field these days where they're talking about, we think it could be due to this or kind of due to that, or, what is happening there?
Yeah, so I've heard a few things from different experts or scientists. There's a big, I think the most common understanding is that this is to do with our modern lifestyle. So we, our gut microbiome's changing, which we mentioned before, our diet is highly inflammatory in the Western world.
Too much processed food in there.
And yeah,
Really.
yeah, and we're not moving as much. Stress has a role as well. So, I don't think we've nailed down exactly why it's growing so quickly, but we do understand that the rate at which it's growing, it has to be to do with our modern lifestyle and changes in the environment as well. So toxic exposures and things. So yes, it's very interesting. It is a bit scary, but the good news is there are things that you can do to help, maybe not cure, but help.
Yep. And speaking of that, because you are a nutritionist and a naturopath, so you deal a lot with foods and, of course, different type of supplementation and different things. So I guess let's start with foods and things like that. What are, firstly, some of the probably worst foods that you could eat if you've got arthritis or any type of arthritic condition going on?
So the top three big guns: sugar or added sugar. So not things like fresh fruit and naturally occurring, but sugar, alcohol, and processed oils and fats. So, and when I say processed oil and fats, these would be the types of oils that you would see in processed foods, so in dips and chips and those sorts of things that you buy in packets over the counter, and also fats that, from the chip shop, I suppose, that you deep fry, those types of things, and too many animal fats. So these are the big guns that we really want to minimize as much as possible, and that's because they drive inflammation in the body. Yeah. So they're essentially just adding fuel to the fire and increasing the pain and inflammation that's already there. So avoiding those is so important.
I'm pretty sure I just heard a few people moan in pain when they mentioned about the fish and chips.
Yeah,
everybody loves a good fish and chips every now and then, but obviously,
I know.
Moderation is really the key, isn't it? When you're talking about a lot of different things. Hey, so.
Absolutely. And getting creative as well. If you love fish and chips, then learn how to cook it at home in really good oils, or, bake them in the oven and, get grilled fish instead of battered,
all the good stuff.
Just making some little modifications might help. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Now, on the flip side of that coin, what sort of foods and drinks would you actually recommend for people if they are living with arthritis?
Yes. So we talked about the bad fats or the processed oils and saturated fats, but we do want people eating lots of good fats. So this includes things like avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds, oily fish, and that's because completely the opposite. These are anti-inflammatory, so they help bring that inflammation down. We also want people eating lots of colourful fruits and vegetables, and that's because the different colours in our fruits and vegetables contain important antioxidants and polyphenols, and these help reduce inflammation, they help to reduce damage in the joint, and help with managing pain as well. So we want lots of purples, lots of reds, lots of greens, yellows, the whole rainbow. And then when we talk about eating the rainbow, this is why, because it gives you that range of antioxidants and polyphenols. And there was a recent study actually that supported increasing, rather than doing our 2 and 5, which we've been told to do in the past, that we actually need closer to 9 serves of fruits and vegetables for better health outcomes. So really bumping those up. And then I'd say lots of whole grains and legumes, because these are going to really support a good quality and balanced microbiome. So that's supporting that gut health aspect of arthritis and providing us with that good range of fibers that help there. And there's been some studies actually looking at a high fiber diet in rheumatoid arthritis patients and showing that it can actually bring down some of those inflammatory markers.
Yeah, so really
green tea as well.
Green tea is, look, it's good for everything.
It's good for everything, yeah. And there have been some studies on green tea, either as a tea, as a drink, or also the extract as a supplement in arthritis, helping to manage some of that inflammation.
Yeah, look, if there was a way you could run your car on green tea, You'd do it, wouldn't you? It's just such a good thing to put in the bod. Now, of course, staying away from added sugars, alcohol, of course, and those processed oil and fats is the key there. And, of course, getting on board with really, when you think about it, Kelli, it's just about maintaining a good lifestyle, good nutrition, a good balanced nutritional diet, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that definitely and that's the foundation of everything. And then from there, we work with the individual. So those things that we've talked about, that really covers almost everyone with arthritis.
Yeah.
And then all forms of arthritis. And then depending on the individual and their specific makeup and situation and severity of their health needs, then we start to look at more of an individualized approach. So really targeting, are there other foods that are driving inflammation for you? Do we need to work on stress? Do we really need an overhaul of your gut health?
Sure.
So that's where we start to get down to the nitty gritty a bit more.
Yeah, and look, to finish up this morning, what are the role of supplements in treating arthritis? Because we hear a lot about them. There are some fairly common ones as well, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. So supplements can be very helpful. They are supportive. So like I said, we start with the diet and lifestyles foundational, and then we can bring in supplements to help. When we're using supplements, we might be looking at, say, herbs that help reduce inflammation. So some common ones that I'd be using in practice would be turmeric, ginger, boswellia. We might use fish oil as well. We might use other supplements to help with pain. So I use quite a bit of PEA, which is, a new one that I find really helpful. We'd be also wanting to make sure we're supplying all the vitamins and minerals that are needed to help protect the structure of the joint as well. So, these might be vitamin C and your minerals like magnesium, calcium, anything to support collagen. And we might also use specific probiotics and prebiotics depending on the individual and what their gut health is like. So they can be very, very useful. And nowadays, there's a lot more building research around particularly herbs and nutrients and inflammation, that we just have so many tools in our toolkit. It's getting very exciting.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of going and getting some painkillers anymore, isn't it? There's a whole lot of other factors that you can actually do at home, really. And
well, that's right.
And actually get yourself on, in a much better position to be able to keep the bod running well. Kelli, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Now, if people want to follow you along on the socials, maybe jump onto the website, have a look at some of your great articles on there, some of the info you've got, how can they do that?
So you can head to my website, which is kellik.com.au. So it's kellik.com.au. Or, join me on Instagram or Facebook at kellik_naturopath. I'd love to see you along, and there's plenty of information on my website. You can contact me directly through there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelli. Looking forward to catching up with you next month for another big topic. And have yourself a great day. I'll get to you very, very shortly. Hold the line there. That is our great friend Kelli Kieselbach, naturopath and nutritionist this morning, talking about arthritis. Stay with us. We've got the news coming up next.